Okay, we're live.
Yes, you sent me the video. Thank you. I
Cool.
haven't watched it, but I did see it in our group.
Okay,
So,
cool. And I cropped it really nice. So anyway,
oh,
we're here on live and we have, it looks like we have, four people already jumped in.
awesome.
So I want to welcome you, Amy, to this Daring Greatly, community group here in Facebook. A lot of these women are my clients. A lot of them are just my followers. Some new, some have been there for a long time. And I know that you just joined the group, so you've been seeing a little bit of the activity. So I want to introduce everybody. Amy Parmar, she is a dating coach expert, and we met recently, and she has been helping a lot of professional, successful women like you and I find love. But to find love, we first need to work on ourselves. There's always these mental barriers, and you work a lot on the ground, not just like, because anyone can get a profile, and get herself a date. But it's more than that. Obviously, there's a lot of frustrations. I told you a little bit of the questions that my audience has. So you have the floor, girl. Tell us about dating.
Okay. Well, so I'm Amy Parmar, as Argentina said, and I want to first of all thank you for having me in your group. This has been really fun. We had each other, in our groups, and it's been really great working with you and learning from you. I am a dating coach for women over 40, and so I work with women to kind of help them through some of the issues that can come up. I really feel like dating is very different in your 20s from how it is in your 30s, and then how it is when you get over 40. I think it kind of like shifts and becomes more even. Your 40s, 50s, 60s, even your 70s. I think it, starts to kind of stabilize and kind of, be a certain way. And so, with that being said, I am a dating coach and I'm also an energy healer. And so I work with women to help them to get over heartbreak, get back into their bodies and get centered so that they are doing the work of being ready to meet men. And I always say it's two parts. One part is you need to be ready internally, mentally, emotionally, obviously physically and sometimes even spiritually to meet a good guy. But then you also need to, have your filters up and be cognizant of red and green flags. I teach something I call the Speedway method in, my program. I've got a one-on-one program. And so I teach the women I work with to be very cognizant of the boundaries and how they are setting things up for, for meeting guys. Like they want to, I teach a method for being aware of, of taking your time with the guys that you meet. And I recommend that, okay, so I think I'll shift gears. I'll start out with the first thing that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about dating during COVID.
Okay.
So with regard to dating during COVID, obviously we are all, somewhat social distancing. And so the actual dating process of going on a date, meeting people, going to a restaurant, eating like we normally would in normal times has changed a little bit. And what I recommend right now, the process that I recommend is, say you were meeting somebody on a dating site or, you were set up. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to interact with them online. So you want to put up a profile picture. You want to put up, a nice profile with details on, talking about yourself. And I always say that for the photos, you want to have one that, preferably is sort of like a glamour shot, something where your makeup is all done, you're wearing nice clothes, you're in heels, you're done to the nines. I really recommend that. You should have at least one of those. You want at least one that is casual. where you are wearing just, something that, like how you look in the everyday, so that it's not, all glamour shots and it's not all, like scraggly shots. It's something, you're kind of giving a range of pictures. But I always recommend that you have at least one where it shows your entire body.
Right.
It's very important to me to have, you should always show pictures, and there is no benefit to, either having old pictures or having something where it's only your face, or it's a very advantageous lighting or something, or you're showing an angle where it's not really representing what you look like. You want to give the person, just like you would want, them to do the same thing for you, give you a very realistic picture of what they look like, in the same way you want to give them, a good idea of what you look like. It doesn't have to be too specific. Like, you don't have to wear something tight-fitting or anything, but you definitely want to have a full body shot so that they have an idea, height, weight, just general body dimensions, so that there's no surprises. Because I feel like, and I encountered this a lot when I was dating, that a lot of guys would even tell me, and I know the reverse happens with women, oh my gosh, you look just like your picture, and I'm so surprised because I'm so used to, women not looking like their picture. Like, you've probably seen that too. I don't know if you did online dating, but it's a very common thing.
Oh yeah, God,
and
many times.
And I don't know why we do it, right? Because there's nothing to be gained from that. Maybe you'll have a little bit of fun online, but when you actually meet in person, like, it's not going to go anywhere if you're not a match and you're not attracted to each other. So I think it's very important to set the stage from the beginning and be very clear. If you have any, okay, so now we talked about the photos. So we talked about 3 main photos, the glamour shot, the casual, kind of everyday shot, showing you doing something that you enjoy, or something, you're having fun. You can have something at work, but I wouldn't have it be too serious, kind of show your playful side whenever possible, show different aspects, but definitely you want to show your fun side, and you want to show that you're well-rounded. What else? So we talked about the profiles. Mm-hmm. We talked about the photos, and if you can do something, one picture showing something that you love to do, and do that, something that brings you joy. Anytime you can put something of yourself and inject something of yourself in your profile, that is always going to be a win. All of the comments that I've seen from guys that are looking at profiles is they really like women who are kind of active and show what they're into, and show that, this is the kind of date I like. If you can even say, I love tacos, let's go get tacos on a date, or, this is my favorite thing. It's really nice because it gives the guy something to talk about. It gives you a nice icebreaker. It's something you can make a joke about later, like, oh, I told you I like tacos. It can be like a little inside joke once you start talking. Before you get comfortable with each other, sometimes it's a little awkward. You can break it up with a joke. I love humor. If you can put some humor into your profile as you're writing out your profile, I recommend that. So what else? So you want to talk about the things that, you definitely want to talk about things that you enjoy doing. You can talk a little bit about your work, but basically just give them a snapshot about you, and, what sorts of things you like to do for fun. And definitely stay on the positive. It is a real turnoff, if you've seen a guy where, he says no drama, no this, no that, like that, it's such a turnoff. Like, try and be positive with everything that you write. Mm-hmm. If there's something that you really don't like, I wouldn't mention it. There's always time to talk about it later, but try and come across positive. Try and talk about positive things. In the beginning, you want to make a nicer first impression, and later, as you get to know each other, you can, be more specific with things you'd like and don't like. And when they've got the context, because you're having an actual conversation, it's a lot easier to say, oh, this is what I don't like about politics, but you can have a conversation, right? It's not just a soundbite or like a one-word image where, it makes you look like a hater or whatever. I think it's important to come across positive, to really put yourself in your profile so that they really get a feel for who you are, what you like to do, because you're each kind of judging each other in terms of what your life is like, and could you potentially have a sort of connection with this person. So it's always best to be very, honest and straightforward about, what you do, what you look like, and the things that you like to do, because it's going to set, a strong foundation. And you always want to start any time that you're meeting somebody, you want to have that foundation of respect and trust. If somebody were to meet you and then they find out later that, you made something up. I had a friend actually back in the day that had said, I remember this was a match, and she very specifically, we were in our 30s, late 30s at the time. She had said very specifically that she did not want a guy with kids. She had never been married, and she did not want somebody that had children. And unfortunately, the guy that she ended up meeting he just said, I'll tell you later, which I guess she just didn't realize what that meant. But definitely when you're looking at profiles, read between the lines. If there is something that you're not sure about, it's okay to ask before you meet. Just don't even waste your time with it. If there's something you really don't want, don't waste time. Don't waste the pretty, don't waste the happy, don't waste the intelligence. Be sure of what you want and kind of go after it. But you also want to present yourself well. It's both sides, right? They're looking at you, you're looking at them. So you want things to, you want to accurately represent yourself, but you also, you want to be more positive and make a positive impression. And I think that covered everything with profiles, right? So then you do the profile.
Well, how about the content of your core values and all that? Because, well, at least when I was in, dating, I would read males' profiles.
Yeah.
They don't tell me anything about them. It's like, I'm a laid-back type of guy. I love baseball, and on the weekends, I like to go fishing, and I'm easygoing, and I don't like drama. I mean, who likes drama? You're never going to find somebody, oh my God, I love a drama queen.
Right.
So it's like... Right. So as a woman, obviously, I cannot control what they write, but I can control what I write.
Exactly.
So what kind of stuff do I want to share in order to attract and basically screen men? Can you do it through your profile?
Yes, that is a great question. So I think a profile, one of the things that is great about a profile is you can use it sort of as a filter. So for example, say you're really into literature and grammar. There's a lot of people out there where grammar is a really big deal to them, and they need somebody that uses proper grammar, that, knows how to speak well, that is, if you're somebody that has read a lot of books and you want somebody that has read a lot of books, you can put little quotes or, little things from your favorite books. You could say, my favorite book is X, and rather than saying, I don't want somebody that does not read, you can say, put it in a cute way. My favorite things, I love guys that read, or I find guys that read so hot, like things that turn me on, like something like that. You can kind of turn it around and make it more fun and positive, right? Like be playful with it. But you definitely just want to convey a little bit of the essence of who you are and what you're looking for in your profile. And the more you can do that with words, like you use your picture, you use some of the things that you say, some of the things that you talk about, without saying, I want this person and I am like this. If you can convey it, pictures are worth 1,000 words, like they say. Like people are going to get like an emotion and an idea from an image. Like they're going to make certain judgments about you from that. So If you're a family person, I think it's great to show you, you know, with your family members. I don't think it's recommended. I do want to say, like, don't put pictures up with a lot of guys. You know, you can put a picture up with girls, but sometimes it's a little weird if you put yourself in a picture with a lot of guys. Like, I don't know that that necessarily conveys the best impression. Like, you just don't want any sort of like weird judgments until they know you. What are some other do's and don'ts? Yeah, so I would be particular with the pictures that you put up. Make sure that they all reflect you, that there's nothing that is maybe older than like a year. You know, if you look the same that you looked 5 or 10 years ago, even then, you know, try and keep it within the last few years so that they're not going to, you know, have a heart attack when they see you because they don't know who they're meeting. Because that's just not a good feeling. You know, you want to have that trust and know that, okay, they are this age, they look like this, they are this person that they're saying, you know, otherwise the idea comes across, what else are they hiding from me?
And, you know, with respect to pictures, I mean, you're so right, because it's the first thing that people see, your face, your pictures. And I had to tell you, I was always very successful at attracting guys because as a photographer, I took a lot of pictures of me, you know, by myself. I'll put the camera in a tripod and I will run and pose, and I know the lighting, and then, you know, I set up the expressions and the output. So it was always great. So, you know, you once told me that when you're really serious about finding the guy, you know, somebody to have a good relationship, you have to approach it like a full-time job, committed, and with purpose. And I think that has a lot to do with, you know, selfies are great, but I think that if you take the time to do some professional pictures, it will take you, because it's like a numbers game. You have to really screen through a lot of guys to get the ones that are really worth your time. And
and I think as you get older, I think it's even more important. Because, you know,
and the older that we get,
so you don't want to, you know, you definitely want to portray yourself in the best light. I think that's so important. I so agree. I'm with you with the professional photos. Which, you know, that's where you come in. I don't know if you do that, but, you know, I am actually thinking, now that you mention it, I would like to have like a full service thing, and I'm planning to probably have like a VIP thing. So you and I should talk. Like a VIP service where the photos are done for you, the profile is done for you, everything. So, no, I think that's so important.
You're selling almost like a product. You know, would you go and buy a car to the car dealer when it's not in the showroom, that is just in the back of the parking lot, all dirty amongst many other cars? You know, you're not going to buy the car. I don't care if it is the best car ever. You put it in the showroom in the best light, you wax it, you detail, you even like spray perfume, you set up certain things around it so it's more appealing. Same thing for us. And my belief is that a high quality man is looking for a high quality woman. And a picture will tell him, at least make him stop and click. So.
And especially like you said, if you want that kind of guy, then you owe it to him to be that kind of girl. Because otherwise, you know, you don't want to get into, you know, there are relationships where I feel like it sets the best stage if you present yourself well. Like, you don't want to get into any weird like relationship dynamics where, you know, So, I think the profile is important, but I think that you definitely want to, so I recommend that the women that I work with, that they do different, that they do at least 2 online profiles. Like, they find 2, and the ones I recommend typically, right now I think Tinder, Hinge, and Bumble are really hot. Coffee Meets Bagel is another one. So these are all really good for older women. And then there were a couple that I wrote down. I'll have to look for it. For Black women, there are certain sites that are better. So I will look that up. Please remind me,
Okay,
before
I
we
will
go,
post
I
it
will
in
look
the,
it up. I've got it
in the video.
somewhere.
Okay,
Because,
cool.
I mean, honestly, I do think nationality and all of that, particularly if you're looking for somebody of a certain nationality, you want to go where those numbers are. When I was dating, I was looking for an Indian man, as I told you. I was very specific. I wanted someone who spoke the same mother tongue as me. And so certain sites were better about it, So I think it's good, and it's like you said, it's a numbers game. So you just have to, and not get discouraged. I think it's so important to have a good mindset, and like they say, you want to have a very full life on your own so that the dating is a positive, because that's going to sustain you, because it can be a little bit of a roller coaster as you're dating. Some weeks you're going to have dates, some weeks you're not, and you don't want to go up and down that hill of feeling, oh my God, am I going to meet somebody? Like, you don't want to be in that mindset. If you can, it's best to keep busy, have a very full life. I always say, do lots of activities with your girlfriends. You can have guy friends. Obviously, we're not socializing as much right now, but there's still there's Zoom calls, there's hiking, there's lots of different ways to get out there and get that social activity. I highly recommend it for everybody, even introverts. Like, there's going to be a certain amount of social activity that you like. So whatever that level is, go there. Self-care is very important. I highly recommend that for, because in order for you to know what good treatment is, you've got to treat yourself well.
Right.
And I think that's the number one thing. If you are used to saying mean things to yourself, you're used to other people, maybe you've had some difficulties. I've had some trauma in my past. A lot of women have, particularly, as we get older. I think the odds of having gone through some trauma goes up, right? Because you're just living your life. So you have bad experiences with people, and it can kind of weigh you down a little bit. I think it's very important, first of all, to heal that trauma. Do whatever it takes, whether it's energy healing, therapy, getting out, exercising. I've got some exercises that I can teach your listeners today that I use personally when I have, negative emotions or feelings towards someone. I'm just going to say, I live with my husband and my mother-in-law. That's all I'm going to say. So, sometimes there are negative feelings. It happens with anybody that you live with. And especially right now, we're spending so much time with the people that we live with. So we're going to get on each other's nerves. And there are a lot of techniques for forgiveness, for healing, for self-healing, so that you can come to the relationship that you find as a whole person. A kind person that is going to treat the person that is a high value person. You're going to treat them well so that you can expect them to treat you well. And if they're not treating you well and, you're dating, you're going to notice, because you're used to having a good life. You're used to having friends. You're used to, not having toxic people around you. That's another thing. You definitely, as you're getting into a mind frame to be dating, it's very important to keep your environment clean. You want to, where you can, eliminate toxic influence of people, or mitigate it, minimize it. So say there is somebody that you work with, and they're difficult, and they're just a pain in the butt. See if you can move to another department. Do what you can to just get away from them so that they're less of an annoyance. Do that with anybody that is in your life that is difficult or doesn't treat you in the way that you would like to be treated, because it's very important to surround yourself with good people. That is how you are going to foster that very positive mindset that then allows you to attract somebody positive to you and continue to treat each other positively. Because we take that baggage on, and when you've got baggage, it's easy to kind of throw on other people, and it's not fair to anybody to do that. And so I really recommend, good mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual hygiene, which means keeping, your environment clear. I think that's so important. I know I just went through 5 different subjects there, but I'm so passionate about this subject. I think it is so tough because, you go through bad experiences, bad relationships, and it's so hard not to drag that negative thought into a future relationship. But you've got to find a way, because it's not, the new guy's fault for what the old guy did. Mm-hmm. Because, the new guy is most likely going to be so much better. And you want somebody that's going to treat you better, right? You don't want more of the same. So you've got to act differently too.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a lot of great information. And a lot of it is common sense, but we forget so often. So we need a reminder. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about actively, talking to people in a Facebook, in a media app, dating app. Mm-hmm. I particularly would like to know what to ask to give me an idea that he has the same values, what I'm looking for, that he's an interesting person, that I would be willing to pursue a date. Not just because his cute looks and he tell me that I'm hot and, let's go out tomorrow. First of all, that sounds, because I had people reach out to me like that. Oh my God, you're so hot. Are you free this weekend? Let's go out.
Hundreds of guys are just going to do that. They're just randomly going to be like, you're hot. That's it. You're hot, right? Like, it happens a lot.
Like, I know I'm hot, but.
Right. And what's your point? Yeah.
What's your point? There's more to me like that, So what are the questions to ask? How to screen them? How to feel them?
I am glad. I get this question all the time. How to determine if a guy has potential. Yeah. Because, you don't want to waste your time, but you also, I recommend caution with meeting people. First of all, when you are making, I don't want to digress too much, but I do want to say that when you are making your list, I always recommend that you focus more on the internal qualities than the external qualities, because I always say that, I used to say this when I was single, I know God is bringing me a good guy, but I don't want to limit his options too much by saying he needs to look like this and he needs to wear this and he needs to drive this. I'm going to be free. I'm just going to say I need him to have a good character. I need him to have a, great sense of humor, has to be very funny. He has to be smart, be able to have discussions about things, open opinions, willing to discuss things and not super close-minded, whatever it is, like all the little qualities. I really highly recommend that you focus more on the internal qualities, particularly as you get older. We were just talking about this right before. Mm-hmm. As we age, particularly with the men, a lot of men are not going to age well, and I say that with all the love in the world. It's truth, right? Mm-hmm. Some people age better than others. Some men are going to age better than others, and so that is going to sometimes skew the numbers in their favor. And I really recommend some of the guys that, you never know when you're going to meet a great guy who is like they say, like an uncut diamond. Like there are lots of great guys out there. They're not the flashiest, they're not the look at me, I'm so, well, they're not so sparkly and beautiful and, all the things that we look for with guys. But they have a lot of good in them. So I recommend with any guy that when you go on a date, that first of all, you give, if you can, and you're not sure in the first date, it's okay to give it a second date and just give it time. Just see if you don't have chemistry on the first date, see if it has time to develop. Some people, as you get to know them, they become more attractive. It doesn't have to happen, and you don't need to push yourself by any means to like somebody. But a lot of times on the first date, we kind of feel that pressure, like, oh God, I don't know if I like him. Oh my God, I don't know. Am I going to have another date? Do I want another date? Am I misleading him if I tell him I had fun? Like, I've actually thought this, am I misleading him if I tell him I have fun, but I don't want another date? Like, am I leading him on, right? Like, we feel like we need to have everything figured out while we're on the date, and it's too much pressure. Just go, have a good time. focus on enjoying yourself on the date, being a good date, and, getting to know kind of what he's like and how you feel around him, just kind of take the temperature on how things are when you're talking. But that brings me to that subject, the question. I'm sorry, I kind of got distracted, but there's so much around going on the date. Like, I want women to go with the right mindset. So if there is something, first of all, if there is something major that you want, I think it is totally okay to put that, in your text messages or talk about it on the phone before you meet. I do recommend a video date before you meet in person, because particularly right now with everything going on, our options are a little bit limited with how we meet people. And it's one less way to waste time. If the guy is not open to a video date, that kind of right there tells you that he's not so flexible. And, I would take that as a negative. So you do a video date. If you have something, like, say you want somebody of a specific religion, you want somebody who goes to church every Sunday, you want somebody that speaks a certain language, or, there a lot of times we will have a certain criteria that we would really like the guy that we're meeting to have. First of all, get straight in your mind, is this a must-have or is it just a nice-to-have? And if it's a must-have, by all means, figure it out right away. If you are talking to him, say, one of your things is you want somebody who goes to church every Sunday, right? You can figure that out easily enough. In addition to asking him, you can say, I like to go to church every Sunday. I love this. When was the last time you went to church? Like a little bit of digging here and there to figure out, and, just to make sure that whatever he's saying is actually the truth. That is, one of the compatibility tests that I recommend. Definitely when you're talking to a guy, he should be interested in you and he should ask questions. If he's not interested in you, that right there is a red flag. Don't pass go, don't get $200. It doesn't need to go any farther. You want somebody who's interested in talking to you, who's somewhat passionate when he talks. Like when he talks about work, it's not really fun to be around someone that's like, answers with one-word answers. Like, if you want somebody that talks more, that might be, a red flag for you. If you want somebody that is funny and you make a joke and he doesn't laugh, and then you make another joke and he doesn't laugh, that might be a red flag. There's little ways that you can kind of do little tests to see what they're actually like. You can do it on the video chat. You can do it on the phone. You can do it when you meet. But my thing is, if it's something that's really big for you, do it soon. So you're not wasting your time. You're not putting that emotion into somebody where he's got a red flag and you're just not going to want to go any further. Just don't waste your time. And don't waste his time, right? Like, just figure it out early.
Sure.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So that was the answer to that question. Yeah. These are some ways of figuring out compatibility, because it's such a tricky subject and there's so many things that come into compatibility, right? There's how good the conversation there is between the two of you. Like, how do you feel when you're around him? Like, do you feel positive? Do you feel attracted? How does he feel to you? Do you feel like interest from him? Do you feel like, do you want to know more from what he's saying? Does he interest you? Do you have good conversation? Are there lulls in the conversation? It gets very awkward, and then you're like, oh God, when is this date going to be over? These are all little signs for you as to if the guy has potential with you. It's a million little things.
Yeah, I think the nice thing with video dates is that you can hang up.
Yeah, exactly. And you didn't waste anything. Oh, so video dating, I did want to say, I tell the women, I've done kind of right when COVID started, I did a series on dating during COVID because it was such a common question. When you do a video date, I really recommend, I don't know how you do it in Argentina, but I highly recommend that you wear heels and you get dressed up and you put your full face on. You don't have to wear the shoes. I mean, that is, I think why not? Like if it's going to make you feel sexy
Yeah.
and you do that on the date, why not do it? But
Right.
act as if you were going on the date. Like everything is there except you're not leaving your house, you're in your house. But otherwise you were on a date.
Get good lighting.
Up,
good lighting and at least
good, do tests.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. You had to, I think it's actually a great thing because if you're in your house, through the video, you can see the surroundings, his surroundings, he can see your surroundings. If there's a mess in the background for him, or he just threw a towel, over things, that's not a good sign. But for me, I would totally dress up. I wouldn't be here. I would probably be more in the place where I have a more living room area. And
something pretty in the background, just
yeah,
like a Zoom.
So that he could see that, okay, I have a nice place. I'm not a mess here. And yeah, very casually you can get up and let me get another glass of wine, so he can actually see you walking.
Yes,
and
that's a good idea too.
Right? And same thing for him, find a way for him to go and get himself a glass of wine, or give me a tour of your house.
Tour of your house, yes. Oh, what is that painting up there? Can you go and show me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is great. I've never done one, so that would be interesting when it comes around.
Well, it's so practical right now, you know, and you don't even you don't even need to just do one. You can do a couple and really kind of get a feel, because honestly, like right now with social distancing and everything, like even going out of the house is like a big deal, right? Like you don't want to waste your time and go out of the house. Like our criteria for having to leave the house is higher than normal.
Oh God,
so,
yes.
If you want to do a couple of video dates, nothing wrong with it.
You can have 3 dates in one night, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8.
That is a good point. So I recommend that all the women that I coach, that they meet multiple men, at least in the beginning. Get to know multiple men, because you don't want to get invested too quickly. And so what we were saying about, the guy, some men age better than others, just like women, like when we all get older, we look different. Not everybody at a certain age is going to look the same. So it is important to take your time when you're meeting people, because I really felt this when I was dating at an older age. Like there were less guys that I was attracted to. Mm-hmm. So the second I found somebody that I found very attractive, or, he had like the great career, or he had, whatever the cool thing was that I really wanted in a guy, once he had it, I was like, okay, that's the guy. That is the guy. And that is the thing that you want to avoid. You do not want to do that. You want to keep your options open. And it's like foods. You want to try different foods. You can get to know each guy just a little bit and see what they're like, but you never want to get to a point where you're, something that is not going to be positive for you. Like they've got a behavior that you don't like, or they have something that you've already decided you do not want in a mate, that comes up and you don't have the ability to walk away. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why I recommend that you talk to multiple people, meet multiple people, and honestly wait a few months. Obviously it's up to you the level of comfort, like intimacy wise, that you can have. I recommend that you don't sleep with anybody until you are in that monogamous relationship, but people are different. Right. You definitely don't want to assume that you are monogamous until you've had the talk. Like literally you say, I would like us to be monogamous, or he says, are you seeing other people? And you come back, you can be open about it when you are seeing other people. When I met, so my husband and I'll give you guys a little story. I met my husband on an online dating site. It was an Indian one, because, I really knew I wanted an Indian one. This was a while back. It was about 7 years ago. So there weren't apps so much. It was all dating sites. So we met through an Indian one. I'd been online dating for a few months, or sorry, for a few years. And so I knew how it went, right? I knew that, okay, it's not like I'm going to meet this, my Prince Charming. He's going to sweep me off my feet and we're going to get married. I am going to need to be out there for a little while. I'd had a few situations where it started out as a relationship and then, it just didn't progress. It wasn't moving in that direction that I wanted it to, and it ended. So I figured, okay, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to get to know a lot of men. I was long distance dating because I was in Texas, and I knew I really wanted a good guy and I wanted him to be Indian. And so I knew, I think it's very important to women to have an idea of what they are willing and not willing to do. Like, the more open you can be with your options in terms of being willing to move somewhere, being open to somebody that has kids, like, obviously you're going to have more options in terms of guys, and it's going to be maybe a little bit easier. You're going to have an easier time finding guys that meet your criteria. Because I knew very specifically that I wanted an Indian man, I was having trouble finding anybody close by, so I decided, okay, I'm going to look across, around the U.S., not outside the country, but inside the country. So for that reason, when we met, I knew it was going to be something where, he was going to have to come down. I, wasn't willing to go meet anybody the first time. And I think that is kind of a must. I recommend it for women. I know, we're more equal now, particularly with younger women. It's more about, kind of splitting everything evenly. I'm still somewhat traditional. I wanted to make sure he had good intentions. He didn't just want a booty call or whatever. Like, there was one guy I had liked, and he was in Dallas. I was in Houston. And he was like, you know what? Instead of me coming down to Houston, let's meet in Austin. We'll get hotel rooms, and we'll meet there. And right away I knew, okay, I don't think he has good intentions, right? Like, he wants us to both be in the same hotel. Yeah. I get it, right? So, like, there's little signs like that, how interested he is in meeting you, So in my case, I knew the guys were going to be coming down. And so I very specifically decided I'm going to meet multiple guys because, obviously they've got to come down. I might talk with them and it might not even ever turn into a meeting. So I'm not going to waste my time and just talk to one person. I'm going to talk to multiple people. When the question came up with my now husband and he asked me, I'm only talking to one woman, I very honestly said, listen, I've been online dating for a while. I do not recommend just talking to one person. If you're new to it, honestly, I would be okay with you talking to multiple women until we meet in person. I cannot say that I am ready to be in a relationship with you. I just don't think that's realistic. And I definitely don't recommend that any woman does that she, commits in her heart. Even, like, sometimes we fool ourselves. We get into something with our heart and we tell ourselves, oh, I'm not serious about it. Obviously, don't be silly. We haven't met, but in your heart, you're committed. In your heart, you've decided, I really like this guy. I don't care what he looks like. I'm going to meet him and it's going to be awesome. No, because you don't know. So many things can be different when you meet in person. Obviously, most of the women, all of the women in your group have dated before, so some of this might be more common sense. But in case something is not, or, it's something you haven't tried before, I really, I like to cover all the bases. And, maybe right. I'm over explaining, but I'm okay with that. I want all the women I talk to have better chances of meeting a guy and having it turn into a long-term relationship, and have it be the right relationship.
You're absolutely right on that, because the 3 husbands that I had, I met him, I dated him exclusively, and then I married him. I didn't really like multiple date.
When I did that with my husband too.
Yeah, when I changed my strategy and started dating again online again, I was dating multiple times, multiple people, taking my time and really looking at them, and nobody was cutting it. That's why I remained single.
Exactly. And you don't waste your time, right? You don't waste your time, your emotions.
No.
Like, don't risk heartbreak, because even if you decide that something should end, it's still hard. It takes a toll. Mm-hmm. So that's what I recommend. What were we talking about again? No, I forget. We were talking about video dating.
Video dating, yes.
Before you meet. and not committing to anybody. And don't fool yourself. Like, don't say something to everybody, oh, don't be silly. Like, really make sure you're not committing in your heart until you meet in person. I really, really, don't recommend that you make any sort of decision until you've gotten to know them for 3 months. He could be the best guy. And it's not that I don't believe in love at first sight, but even if you feel love at first sight, there's no reason to just stop talking to anybody else. Take your time with them and make sure that you were right about it. Mm-hmm. Because we all have careers and lives and everything. Like, especially when you're older, like, you really don't want to, it's not like we're 15 or 20 and, you have a broken relationship. It's not a big deal. As you get older, the stakes get higher. So you want to just be more sure about things.
Yeah, I think that a lot of, because I talk to so many women and some of them have, sent me some questions about this, to get ready for you. And then I'm in, women's sites where a lot of women post things about dating. And there is just a lot of, I'm sorry to say this, but desperate women out there.
Yeah.
That questions like, how do I know he's still seeing his ex? How will you answer that? He tells me he's not, but I'm not so sure. I think he's still seeing her.
Well, I guess my question would be, how much do you trust the guy? Because if you're asking the question, then most likely you don't have 100% faith in the guy, because if he says no, that should mean no. And if you don't have the trust, then you've got to figure out if what you need to do to build the trust, or do you just not trust him? Mm-hmm. If you've had a situation where he cheated, in my opinion, so I don't know, what the background is, if he actually did have something with the ex and now it's like, is he doing it again? Or, he cheated in the past, or, he did something that was inappropriate. I caught him and we're rebuilding. If that is the case, in my opinion, the guy should be willing to do whatever it takes to get your trust back. And if he's not the guy for you. Mm-hmm. Because you're always going to be playing this game where, he's running and you're chasing after him. And nobody wants to do that. We're not
common sense tells you that. Everybody tells you, leave the bastard. He's obviously still seeing the ex. Why do women hang on to him to one day see how great she is and how he messed up and comes and begs for forgiveness? Why do women do that?
I think we talked about this, and you had some great things I know you've talked about before, with knowing your self-worth and loving yourself. And as long as you are showing, that is why, you're kind to yourself. You do little things like, putting on lotion, taking little time for your mental health, being around people that are kind to you. So when somebody is not treating you in a way that you want to be treated and against your boundaries, that's a sign that you should not be with him. Like, right. You can love a guy, but you need to love yourself more.
I guess if he doesn't feel good, you shouldn't be there.
Exactly. Because ultimately, if the trust is not there, I can tell you with certainty, the relationship long-term is not going to work out. And sometimes it's like the idea of sunk costs, right? Like in economics, you worry that I spent so much time, I spent so much, all these years of my life, we have kids, I put all these emotions into him, all whatever. But breaking up 5 years from now is going to be even harder than breaking up today. And you're going to have the regrets of knowing that, I was suspecting him of talking to his ex. I didn't go with my gut, and here I am 5 years later. So do the detective work, do what you need to either trust him or get out.
Yeah, I think is where we have to set our standards on stone, and there is just no compromise. And we tend to, okay, well, he has 9 out of 10, but the 10 was, it was a deal breaker. And just because he meets 9 and you're going to slip the 10, but the 10 can really destroy you.
Yeah.
Could be like an addiction, or a lie, or compulsive cheating, or
or treats people mean, or, like all the red flags that you know.
And sometimes I can tell you from personal experience with my last relationship that I had, I saw the red flags from the beginning.
Yeah, we
And
always do.
I didn't ignore them. I knew they were there. I chose to stay silent because I really wasn't interested in anybody else. He treated
Yeah.
me nice.
It was easy, right?
It was easy and had somebody to go out with. But the truth is that I would never do it again because it's not fair to the guy either. I mean, he fell madly in love with me, and but he was he's very insecure. So he came to do scenes of jealousy in front of my family. And yeah, by scene 3, it's like, okay, one time, maybe second time, that's funny. By the third time, that's a pattern.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're out. And he was so hurt and so mad, trying to turn around. And I told him, look, you deserve to be loved for who you are. And you're not making it easy for me to fall in love with you. Do you want to end this now or in 10 years? It's going to end no matter what.
Right.
It's your choice. Yeah. So in that respect, I guess he realized that I was right. So he said, like, you're right. It's going to end. Better do it now than in 10 years. Because I can do this all the time. You know, I can ignore you and treat you like shit every day.
Yeah. But I'm sure, so if he caused 3 scenes, I'm sure like your family or friends like probably warned you against him, right? And were like, we don't like this guy or whatever.
Well, at that point, they
were just being quiet.
Yeah, they just being quiet. You know, the second time, my sister just told me what happened. I wasn't there. He was with my family. I missed my plane. That's what happened. And I sent him ahead, to Mexico with my family. And he made a whole scene, starting to really openly accuse me that who I was seeing, that I missed my flight in front of my family.
God. Oh my God!
Yeah,
how embarrassing.
So again, it's like, okay, I'm gonna let it go. But the third time, it's like, okay, that's that's obviously a pattern. You're out. Yeah, exactly. So I had to say that through me gaining my confidence, my self-worth of what I'm worth, that when I realized that my worthiness was not based on being in a relationship, married, or with having a partner in my life, for me, it was in that moment I started to put my foot down. It's like, no, get out of my life. I do not need a man to validate me. And that's what I feel that a lot of women struggle with.
Yes.
To tell somebody, a man, to get out of her life, mostly because of the time we have invested with that person. I know that for my ex, I mean, it came out so natural for him. And he said, like, so I just wasted my time for 3 years. And I was like, oh my God, you really want to continue in this, being treated like shit just because you invested 3 years, so you see like a waste instead of a learning lesson? It came out so natural. So again, it's like, okay, you just like helping me confirm the fact that you need to go. But yeah, I think that when a woman knows herself, like you were saying, like, I'm gonna date multiple guys, and I think for me it was the guilt of dating multiple guys at the same time.
Yeah, and we all feel that way. But I think it is so important. I always say, at an older age, like, the stakes are higher. You really need to be sure. And my thing is, like, the divorce rate is so high. Like, I don't want to be a statistic, and I don't want any of the women that I talk to be a statistic. So do your detective work. Mm-hmm. Find out how he is in different situations. Do whatever it takes. Talk to your friends and family. Ask them, what do you think about him? You need to get a positive from everybody that you respect, that has a good relationship. Don't ask people that maybe don't have great relationships on their own. Like, it needs to be the opinion of somebody you respect. But if they know what a good relationship is, ask them, do we have a good relationship? Do you see this lasting? Don't go into anything with your eyes shut. Like, there's no need for that anymore. We've got Google, we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, we've got phones. Like, you can find things out if you need to, So look at how things are. I really recommend paying particular attention to how easy it is when conflict comes up. How do you resolve the conflict? how open-minded is the guy? Because I think one of the things I've noticed, and I don't mean to harp on guys at all. Like, I love men. Men are wonderful. Just like as women, we can have our negatives as we get older. Men can have their negatives as they get older. But I've noticed that a lot of guys get very, and I think women too, but men particularly get very set in their ways as they get older. And that I think is one of the biggest deterrents that I've seen with getting into a relationship, because once you get a guy like that and he's not willing to compromise and he's not willing to do anything you want, like that just is not going to set the stage for a good, relationship. So you want to know early, and those are big warning signs to me. If you have trouble resolving conflict, if you, little things like how easy is it for you to pick together where to go to eat? Are there fights over things like that? If you have a difference of opinion, are you able to solve it positively? If you have a difference of opinion and you have to make a decision, how easy is it for the two of you to find a compromise without somebody feeling like they lost out? There's like all the different relationship building dynamics, like team dynamics. Just use that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right that the older that we get, I think we women we're more willing to compromise than men.
Yes. You need to make sure it's both sides.
Yeah.
You really, really, really do.
And so we also had to decide what are we willing to accept. Because if it is something like, okay, he's not willing to move to my side of the city, for example, we have to be in his side of the city and that makes me commute. I mean, for me, it wouldn't be a deal breaker if he has every single, it's like, okay, I don't like it, but that I can deal with. Mm-hmm. But if it is something like for me, like you, it was very important to speak the language.
Right.
And every single guy that I dated or married that did not speak Spanish, they all said they were going to learn it. And right when I just came down to, it's been 3, 4, 5, whatever years, and you still can't say pollito chicken, that's when they picked up the book, a deal breaker,
Yeah.
And actually not so much, I would tell them, just tell me in my face that you don't care about speaking Spanish. Right. And
be honest about it.
And be honest about it. Just go with your family. I'll do my own thing, or I'm not going with you because I don't speak the language and I am not willing to learn it. Period. I would respect that person. But no, everybody to tell, would pick up a book or you teach me. It's like, no, I'm not a teacher here. I'm not your coach here.
So in that case, like say you were in a situation like that, you would have ideally, multiple people you would be talking with. And he said, yes, I will learn Spanish. So now you wait and you see, is he picking up Spanish?
Yeah. Oh, no. Next time it's like, okay, call me back when you speak Spanish. And it's a difficult language. It's about a year.
Right?
Yeah. So anyway, so what are good tips can you give us women of a certain age to improve success and have a successful dating life? Because, like for example, I had no desire to be married, at least, I don't know if I'm ever going to want to be married in the same house with a man, but I would like to start dating again, have somebody, conversations, somebody that makes you feel special, a good sexy romantic night or a weekend getaway. So it's everybody wants different things, especially at our age, because we're set on our ways. There are things that I'm just not willing. It's a deal breaker, and there's no way I'm ever picking up anybody's dirty clothes ever again.
Yeah.
It's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
But other women, they do want to be married. They want to be. That's how they are happy, and I totally respect that. So, what else can you tell us?
So I have a list. I have a couple of lists. So do you tell me a bit more about what you want? And okay. So I don't know how do you talk about like how to be an alpha woman as you date? Like,
Oh
is that one of
God,
the subjects
yes.
you
And I
talk
have a lot of alpha women in my followers.
about? Okay.
Lots of
Okay.
alpha women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As as somebody who comes from the corporate world, you know how it is. Um, there were some habits that I had to retrain myself when I started dating again, after a few years of being single. And so these are things that I recommend that the women that are listening do kind of like a self inventory and figure out where they stand. One is listening. Like, how good a listener are you when you're having a conversation? Are you able to listen to what the person says and not with just waiting until they finish while you're thinking of what you're going to answer them, but actually listening, like it's such a big skill, right? Like, so
Yes.
actual listening, being a good listener. um like, I know you have worked in a male dominated field. I come from that too. Like, interrupting is not good, right? So make sure when you're going on a date, like, kind of just, take a little gauge of yourself. Like, do you interrupt people, when you are in conversations with your friends and other people? How accommodating are you to others' opinions? So, say somebody expresses an opinion and it's different than yours. Like, how open are you to, talking with them? Like, and there is no right or wrong answer here. It's just, what sort of a person are you looking for, and what do you see as presenting yourself as the best date that you can be, and having, more potential with more men because you're coming across as a good date, right? So, like we said, being more accommodating to others' opinions, being willing to agree to disagree. Like, you don't need them to say you're right. You can just kind of drop it, let it go. Be open. So, along with accommodating others' opinions, being open to facts that come up that contradict, what you currently believe, and being willing to listen. I mean, that is a real acquired skill, and with certain subjects, we're going to be better about it than others. But I think in terms of emotional intelligence, like, these are really good things to work on, just for yourself, just for your own self-growth and knowledge. So this was a big one that I kind of had to understand my part in. So, with a lot of these, I'm speaking from actual experience. Realize when you're being unfair. So say you have a conflict with someone, are you able to afterwards kind of look at your part that you played and see where you contributed to the conflict? Realize maybe you were being a little unfair with something that you said. That is a great form of self-growth, and, being able to admit when you're wrong. Communication. Obviously, communication is very key. So when you're in a relationship and you're upset with the person, do you keep it inside, or do you wait until you're calm and then, express it to them and start working to deal with the issues? So, yeah. So those are the alphas. So I do have some tips that I recommend for getting over things. I know we had talked about that. Should I go through that?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Some different tips I have. Okay. So I talk with a lot of women. They have broken up with an ex. They're still not over the situation. They're experiencing heartbreak, and they're still thinking about him. They're feeling sad. They're not ready to date somebody else. There are a couple of things that I teach. And so I'm just going to go through the list right now before I talk about them. The first is EFT. EFT is emotional freedom techniques. It is something that was, and I don't remember the original book, but it came out and was kind of repurposed in the 70s, and then it was kind of made simpler over the last 5 or 10 years. Originally, it was redone by a guy named Gary Craig, and it was called Gary Craig's Emotional Freedom Techniques. And what it is it's a 5-minute tapping pattern where you just tap out the frustrations on your face and parts of your body, and you're basically kind of exercising the emotional charge that's related to whatever it is, whether it's a fear, a worry, an anxiety, a dream that you're feeling kind of down about or discouraged, a conflict or something, somebody made you sad or insulted you. Like there's so many different ways you can use it. You can use it for positive also. That's a different form of EFT. There's Ho'oponopono, that's the forgiveness prayer. I'm just going to I know we're kind of going long. So the Ho'oponopono forgiveness prayer is 4 statements. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. You say the 4 statements after thinking of whatever it is that you're upset about. Like say you had a conflict with a family member or a friend. You imagine it, go to that emotional state that you're in where you're feeling bad, and you say these 4 statements. And you just kind of keep saying it in your head, or you can say it out loud until the emotional charge reduces. Journaling is another great technique. I use this one a lot, and it's great to do for mindset when, say, you're in a bad mood and you want to change your mood. It is fantastic. I so recommend it. You can also use like I call it visioning. I teach clients like the visioning process where you're imagining the person that you need to be in the future, where you've obtained whatever this goal is that you have, and you basically see yourself in it. What are the emotions? What are the sensations? What are the thoughts in your head? What are the action items that you are taking on a daily basis that are keeping you in that degree of success? All that sort of thing, and you can use it for anything. You had mentioned this when we talked on Monday, receiving, like the masculine feminine dynamic. The masculine gives and the feminine receives, and there is nothing sexist about it. It's kind of the natural, the natural flow of the universe. As, gendered women, we can also show masculine traits, and men can show feminine traits. But there is a very specific dynamic when you're dating, bringing it back to the dating. There's a very specific dynamic of masculine versus feminine where the male gives and delights the woman, and she receives and is delighted. And you definitely want to be able to capture that as, you get into a dating situation. You want to be able to receive from him and, express to him when he makes you happy, because guys love that. They love to make the women that they are wooing happy. And you let him woo you. You don't chase them. Like those are such important things with the dynamic. Learning about disordered thinking and how you think about things is very important. If you can, do the therapy or work with a coach, you and I are coaches, like work with us, we can help to unravel some of the trauma that has been there in the past, uncover it, and get to the source and heal it. When it comes to healing, there's something called binaural beats. Now I do energy healing, there's Reiki. If there's something and you're more into DIY, there is something called binaural beats, and you can find them on YouTube. So there's a lot of different forms of heating where it's sound related, and it involves you, listening to something, whether it's, hypnotic, like subconscious suggestion or music or whatever. There's different forms of healing. There was something else I was going to mention when it comes to listening. There's theta healing. Theta healing is another form of sound healing. Again, we talked about, removing toxic people and setting good boundaries in your life so that you are treated a certain way. You know how you want to be treated and how you expect to be treated. So this then translates into any future relationships that you set up, and you basically have that goal in mind. And when a person violates a boundary, you're able to go to him and say, listen, you did this was not okay, and you need to change the behavior, and then you reevaluate. So it's very important to kind of, set that stage, and I think that covers all of them. So how are we doing on time? I know, I'm sorry, I can talk forever.
We're 5 minutes after 1 hour, so we're pretty good. Yeah, we're pretty good. That's awesome. Oh, yeah. That's great. Let me see very quickly and see if there's any
Are there
questions here from our listeners. Let's see. No, we're good. Apparently everybody knows everything.
Okay, awesome. And if they come up later, I'm happy to come back just tag me in the comments, and I'm happy to come back and answer any questions they have.
Yeah, and then you said you were gonna give me some information, right? Well, actually, let's back up a little bit. If people, oh yeah, the sites, that the website, the dating apps. You were gonna give me a list, yeah.
Yes,
so
yes.
make that in your notes, and I'll post them in below this video later. But how do you help women with their dating lives? What are your, what you do for women?
So I work with women, and I basically put together a profile. I'm sorry, the list of, where is it? I basically work with women, and based on our conversations and some exercises I give them, we determine